Okay, hey y'all, Mama TC back for round 3 talking about this Essence Festival, how it disrespected FBAs and what it's going to cause with an influx, and it's causing an influx of people that are emotional, and it's creating some, whatever, hatred, in other words, amidst, both people, which we can't really have that. But nonetheless, it will happen because there are people we're finding out that have come over here from other nations that really dislike the FBA. They dislike us. So what are we supposed to do with that? We've delineated now. There's a lot of talk of delineation, which means separating ourselves from all that, because we was down. We was, the Most High is doing all this, okay? And that leads me to this part 3 and maybe finalization of this segment on what I've got to say to you about this whole situation and how it's revealing so much. What the revelation, remember when Cat Williams said to y'all that last year at the end of 2024, he said it's going to be a lot of people getting exposed. Karma's coming their way. That was not just the end of 2024. Going into 2025, it escalated to the highest levels now because we have crossed over into 5D. The earth has been shifting and resetting itself, and the time has been predicted that this would come. The end time is here now, and the Most High said he gonna make wrongs right. People gonna be getting their land back. You know what that's called? The year of Jubilee. Many of y'all don't know much about that because you only read the King James Version Bible. So that's where you need to get into the Apocrypha, where you need to read the Book of Jubilee, because it's all about FBA and who you are. You read that and decipher that book with discernment, you're going to realize it tells you everything you need to know. There was a white preacher that told you the truth about that a long, long time ago, and the videos are still on Y2B. His name was Billy Graham, and he tells you the truth about Jubilee. Look him up. That sermon he gives is powerful. Now, mind you, he was a Mason. He was a good friend of the Bushes, but for some reason, he kind of delineated out of that and was telling the truth to us because his faith was stronger than all that stuff he was involved in. Now, he ended up dying of cancer. I don't know the whole stories on that, but I remember a lot of people were up in arms about him telling these truths and stuff. So anyway, I'm going into more time. Let me get to what else I got to tell you, because Mama T's got to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. All right now. So regarding the book of Jubilees and other books of the Bible you need to get into, you need to be able to cross-reference with different books. The most ancient Bible you can get back to give you most accuracy would be the Ethiopian Bible, they say. But also the Geneva Bible is pretty good. But in addition to reading King James Version, yes, they did tamper with the scripture. But remember, universal law says that the devil is allowed to tempt you and deceive you. But he's not allowed to just lie to you flat out without putting the truth in there. That's why he puts the truth in plain sight, in movies, in pictures, in images, in symbolism. But he can still deceive you and trick you, like he tricked Yahushua up in the desert of 40 days when he was offering him bread and said, I'll give you the whole kingdom. And Jesus still said, no, 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 Yahushua. Because he said, no, man does not live by bread and water alone, but by the word of the mouth of God, Yahuwah. So, listen. The temptation is still very real and relevant today. You need to read more. Read the books of the Apocrypha. Cross it, reference it with the Ethiopian Bible, Geneva, and also get into the Septuagint. Try to read excerpts from books of Enoch 1 and 2. Those are where you're going to get more and more information from. Now, Kurimeo Ahau. That's Kurimeo. Let me start over. Kurimeo. Last name Ahau. He's South American, and he breaks it down and tells the whole truth of how he knows who the black Aboriginal Indian tribes are in the whole history of it. He got the archives, all the documents. They left everything in the archives in the library system, so now it's on the internet. That's why everybody's waking up. Not only him, Dan Calloway been trying to tell y'all for years all this stuff. So I'm not getting into the Indian wars like I said, but the word Indian used to be the N word for us. Did you know that? It was a derogatory term, and we were slaughtered. They said, them dang Indians. Remember that? They hated him. And so the ones over there on the reservations now call themselves Native Americans. Do you know native does not necessarily mean they're indigenous? No, it means you were assigned land and being a native, because they just gave it to you and assigned you that, saying you're a native to that land. That does not necessarily mean they're indigenous, and they know this. Trust me, they know. The gaslighting is very real. But in also respects to South Americans, remember the land masses are still connected. I don't care what they say. I know they're connected. And that freaking line that they call a border at Mexico, the land mass is still connected. And I don't care who sold that portion of Mexico. Come on, let's get real. That land is still part of America. It doesn't matter who sold it. Well, according to biblical scriptures, the ones indigenous to that land is going to get their land back. That's what the words say. So they are your brothers and sisters. Yes, they part of the 12 tribes, Mayans and Aztecians. They were dark-skinned tribes, as was the Tainos and the Arawaks. They were all dark Caribe. They were all dark like Caribe, part of all of them tribes. Many tribes, different names. Very evidential of being 12. 12 tribes that came from Jacob. Shemitic. Not Semite. Shemitic. That's what the word we supposed to be using. But anyway, I ain't getting into all that. So, like you hear, Utah's Judah. The wood from Noah's Ark is from Florida. You hear all sorts of things. The Mississippi River matches the Nile. And that off of the Mississippi River, there's also another Memphis and Cairo. So what they're saying? You gonna tell me America's not the old world? Okay, I'm not finna argue with you, but the evidence is there. And the ancient people that come from the old world is what FBA is. You're ancient. You're chosen. You're holy, anointed, appointed, and divine. Yes, you are. Now, and that's not being racist to nobody. In the year of Jubilee, it talks about who you are. So read the book of Jubilees. Now, remember in the New Year's Eve or around that time, the POPE opened up some doors in a vault, and everybody says, is that a portal? What is he doing with these doors open up? They were celebrating the year of Jubilee. Now, you know what's so crazy about that? Why the heck in the world, if Jubilees was kept out of the 66 book canons, only 66 books was left in the canon for the Bible. The other books was excluded, being the Apocrypha. Jubilees is part of the Apocrypha. This is Jasher, Maccabees, all the other books in there. They were excluded. So it's Enoch 1 and 2. Okay, so then why would they be celebrating Jubilees if they don't even have it in their book? You see, there's things you don't know about going on. Something really prevalent happened the night they opened them doors. Okay, what was going on, I don't know. But they clearly had it on their website that they was honoring Jubilees too. Jubilees is about you and I, FBA. So anyway, regarding that, you need to dig more in some of those things. Now, when I was talking about, like, there are white people that have FBA lineage in their DNA and their bloodline and all that stuff. Like that girl Mary in the movie Sinners. So many y'all jumped up and was like, oh, she ain't even black. And see, they let her in and look what happened. Listen, she was black. And it wasn't her fault she was let in. What's the name? There was the brother Smoke and then the other one Stack. Stack was the one that was very mischievous. And Smoke had a clear head, even though he was kind of violent and angry. He had a clear head. He said, don't let none of them people in. For they infect everybody, right? But Stacks needed that money. And his brother told him, he should have listened to his brother. Don't let nobody in. So when Mary, but she's in love with him, suggested, let me go out there because I look like them. They'll listen to me. He was like, okay, go ahead because we need that money. He was looking after that money. She went out there. They were not like her. And she got turned. And then she came back in and infected people, right? It's not because, he let that white girl in. Oh, when I saw that, I'm like, listen, people just being so. It was, if anybody infected everybody, it was Stacks because he allowed that to happen. But you can't blame nobody for nothing. Listen to the part where they were outside begging to get in. They tried to get them to open up the doors. And they were saying, come on. The brother said, listen, I'm not doing this by myself. And he said, this is me. And you could see him, the eyes of the vampire was showing and everything. And he was like, listen, I can't do this by myself. And this is the way. Where he get that from? This is the way. Who said that in the Bible? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father but by me. So your enemy was standing there trying to use the same word of the Bible. This is the only way. You have to come over to this side. You see what I'm saying? You got to look clearly at things the way they present them to you right in your face. They put it in your face and they got you thinking different ways, but the devil can always tell you the truth. He tells you the truth in your face, but at the same time, he's allowed to tempt you and deceive you. You get it? Just like money. allowed to tempt you and deceive you. So that's part 3. I'm not sure if I'm going to go on